Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing okay. The light is not particularly good this afternoon, but I wanted to film a talking segment anyway because it's Thursday. We're quickly running out of days in the week for me to film it, so I wanted to catch up. The first thing I wanted to do is thank you for the comments under last week's video. It was a video that I was really nervous to post because my voice was so shaky. And also it was quite a vulnerable topic, I guess, and it's always just a bit weird to be struggling and then to talk about it, especially on the internet. So thank you for the comment on that. I didn't reply to them because it quickly got very overwhelming, but I did read all of them. I always read all my comments. I probably spend too much time reading comments, but I was really grateful and still am because, I mean, it was nice and also sad to know that the feeling is so universal and we all experience it similarly but also differently and in our own ways. But there is some sort of comfort in knowing that you're not alone in experiencing something like that. So that was nice. I hope the comments brought you guys as much comfort as they brought me. Or at least a little reassurance, and I think that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to get weird. But thank you for that and for the response because I really didn't expect it. I thought it was gonna do okay, but it did a lot better. It was a lot better received than I expected, so thank you. This week I am just still kind of taking it slow. I don't want to rush myself. I am feeling a bit better, but I don't want to overdo it and freak myself out. And also next week I might not be feeling better. That's just how it goes, right? It's just the ups and the downs and the sort of waves of it. So just trying to exist still, like I always am. I am actually up to date in my notebooks this week, which is really nice. I think I showed some footage earlier in the week, so I won't show you again now, but I'm gonna catch up with that again this afternoon. I have actually been keeping relatively on top of things this week. Previously I had been doing most of my setup in the mornings and like updating them in the mornings, but since just before Christmas I think I stopped doing that because I just wanted to do something else. I think that was when I was playing Animal Crossing. So instead of starting my day with my notebooks, I was starting with Animal Crossing, which was like a nice comfort. I needed it, but it meant that I was falling behind. What I'm doing now is doing my books in the evening. So after I shower in the evening and I sit downstairs with my dad on Wednesday, I do like work in my books instead of doing it first thing in the morning. So that's working. Because of that, I'm up to date and I've caught up on some pages that I was really behind on, which is really nice. I spent like one evening this week just catching up for a long time and I'm so relieved. Yeah. This one as well, I am doing some stuff in here again, which is nice. This one I filled a lot slower than the last one, which is fine because I don't really want to be burning through them because you obviously have to buy more. It took me a long time to feel at home in this book, if you will. I filled December's book so fast and I was so attached to it, I think, because I was like really working in it and I felt like I was really connected to it. And then when I started this one, I missed the other one and I felt like the setup didn't go as smoothly in this one. I actually this week stuck this page down. There was information on the other side. There's writing like inside here now that I will never see again. And I had some stuff stuck in the corner and I ripped it off, so it's kind of messy. But the colors were really bothering me and it was like really stressing me out. So in the end, I just taped it all together and now I feel a lot better about it. So that, you know, there's that. Just another reminder that my books aren't as perfect as they look. I am actively just tearing shit out and taping pages together when I'm annoyed about it, so there you go. This was sticky the other day, but it's not now, so that's good at least. Yeah, but I am now feeling more at home in this book. I feel more connected to it, which is fantastic, but also upsetting because I am now at the halfway point again. So now I kind of need to slow back down somehow because I don't want to finish it and then begin the whole process again in the next book. So I'm relieved I'm finally making progress, but at the same time, I'm not sure why I'm losing my voice. At the same time, I'm like, oh god, now it's gonna happen again and I'm gonna be connected to this one and then have to try and start another new one. So yeah, but that's fine, you know, we move. I printed an Instax Polaroid for this. I have an Instax printer. Oh, I still have it out. Here's one I prepared earlier. It's the Fujifilm Square Instax printer, the SP3. I like it, but I think the photos can print kind of funny colorwise. Like this photo, for example, does not look like that on my phone, obviously. They print very dark is the main thing. And also the film is just too expensive for me to feel like it's worth it long term. I always print a couple and then I never want to buy replacement cartridges because they're so expensive. It just is a lot. But I wanted to print one for her because I do miss that. I think I'm gonna look for a way to print more photos digitally, but not in stacks because that's not sustainable for anyone. But I think I am gonna start printing more photos again. Actually, a company got in touch with me and I might work with them and see how that turns out, but not yet. This is an old sketchbook page I printed and then tore up. I took it down off my wall. I think I had a bunch of them taped to my wall and I took them down and was tearing them up for the bin, and then as I was tearing them up to recycle them, I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool, so I stuck it in. And it's that kind of like in the moment thing that does help me feel more connected to my notebooks, I think. It's like those, like, how do you call it, spare of the moment decisions where I'm like, oh, that might be cool, and then it is, and then I'm like, ah, yes, things are really working. But as I say, now I only have like 10 pages left, so apart from that, yesterday I saw a movie in the cinema. Wednesday was at daycare, so even though I was really tired, it was that kind of tired where it doesn't really help you to be at home. You might as well go out and do something, because otherwise I know that I would get nothing done. I would just sit around. So I went to the cinema. I went to go and sit somewhere else, and I saw The Fabelmans. I actually hadn't even heard of this film or seen trailers for it until I looked it up, like, to see the listings. It's a new Steven Spielberg movie, so it's weird that I hadn't seen anything. I used to go to the cinema constantly, and then the pandemic happened, and then I got a very anxious little dog. We can't leave Wednesday home alone at all, so we don't go to the cinema. But Wednesday was in daycare yesterday. She's trying a new daycare. So I decided I might as well take advantage of it and go to the cinema. The cinema is something I have a lot of feelings about. It used to be one of my most valued hobbies. I love to watch movies. I love to go to the cinema. Like, the act of going to the cinema is like, I love it. And when I was in uni especially, I made a habit of going once a week at least, and I would just watch anything that was on, and it was a really good time for me personally. Anyway, I saw this movie, and it was really cool because it was a film about making films, because I think it's partly autobiographical for Steven Spielberg. I think the character Sam, the main character, is based on him as a child, and then it's about his family in some ways. I'm not sure how much of it is fact and how much of it is fiction, but I think it's loosely based on his childhood. And it's about Sam learning to make films, like he's doing it by himself at home, but like, it's just cool because he's using old film cameras and then he's cutting and clipping the film and taping it together and filming his childhood, and it's just really cool. Like, it was almost inspiring. Like, I don't want to compare making YouTube videos to Steven Spielberg's childhood of making movies and then becoming Steven Spielberg, but it was just really inspiring to see that, like, really romanticized idea of filming your everyday life, which is what I do in a lot of ways. So I just thought it was cool. It was a really good film. I would recommend it. In the film, it's about his parents as well, and that bit was a bit harder to watch because I share some of those experiences, but it was really good. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it, given that I hadn't heard of it and then picked it on the fly as the only film that was showing at a time I could go. So it was good. The Biscuit Factory is an independent cinema in Reading. So just a PSA to always support your local independent cinema if you have one. I think they're really valuable parts of communities. And libraries too. Yeah. Apart from that, I am still reading If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is taking me a really long time, and I can't even tell you why. There's not a reason for it. It's not like I'm not enjoying it or that I'm struggling to read it. It's just that I haven't found the time, I guess. Like, I've just been doing other stuff, I think, because I'm playing a lot of Animal Crossing still and watching stuff and writing in my notebooks, I guess. Like, I just haven't squeezed it in much the last couple of weeks. I'm sure once I properly get into it, I'll read it in like 2 days, which is what normally happens. But I'm only on page 87 and I've been reading it for like 2 weeks. The problem is that when you're reading really goofy but fun fantasy novels, especially if they're fantasy romance novels, they're so goofy and fun and you're so swept up in them that you burn them up really fast. I feel like you keep picking it up and you bring it everywhere around the house with you. This is a very different type of book, obviously, so I'm reading it a lot slower and I don't feel the inclination to carry it around the house with me in the same way. When I'm reading the goofiest fantasy romance novels, or like worse, like when I'm reading those goofy vampire romance novels, I literally will bring them to the lunch table with me and I'll read like 2 pages while I'm eating toast. I do not do that with this book. Like, I just keep leaving it on my desk and then I get downstairs and the dog is settled on my lap and then I'm like, oh, I don't have my book. And then I'm like, oh well, I guess I'll do something else. So it's taking me a long time. I am really enjoying it though, so I do want to finish reading it, obviously, and so many people love it that I very much want to finish it and see if I like it as much as other people do. Based on the comments, I think it was really lucky that I read this one before The Secret History, because I think The Secret History is a lot older. So if you read that one first, then apparently this one feels like a really crap, like, retelling in some ways, like they were just copying the vibe or something. But I think because I'm reading this one first, maybe it's not going to feel like that in the same way. So I think I might have accidentally blessed myself there. Some book YouTubers I like have called this book some of their favorite of all time. I'm not sure I said all of the words of that sentence, but pretend I did. So I do want to finish it, but I'm only 87 pages in. One of them dies, I know that, and I haven't even got to that bit yet. Like, that's how little I've read. So I'm just like doing that thing where they're all going to class and it's kind of long, like in a good way. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah, I am enjoying it. I'm not picking it up in the same way that I do goofy books. And I say goofy books with respect and love. Obviously I read them, so I'm not insulting them. But it's just not grabbing me in the way that those kinds of like really fast-paced fantasy novels do, I guess is my point. But I haven't given up on it for anyone who was waiting for the update. I'm still reading it. I might try and do that today and tomorrow. I might try and finish it for the end of the week or like for next week. Just some ASMR for you of Wednesday drinking water, if you can hear that. She's gotten out of bed and that's probably my cue to stop rambling. So hope you're enjoying this week's video. I'm just taking it slow and easy. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves and I will see you next week. I know I said that I would see you next week, but I wanted to talk about something that I'm working on currently while I'm working on it. I wanted to talk about it while it's fresh. So I'm back again today. Today is Friday, and I'm actually filming this audio separate to a video that I already recorded with audio of its own. When I pulled it into iMovie, the audio was absolutely abysmal, so I'm having to re-record the audio, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out against the video. So if it's really weird, I'm so sorry. Please ignore all of my on-screen gesturing. I'm gonna do my best to talk about what I'm showing you at the time that I'm showing it to you, but it might be a bit weird. Yesterday I told you that I would read my book and work on my notebooks, and I didn't do that. That is not what happened with my day. Instead, I spent some time sort of trying to organize my life a bit more again. Not in the girl boss way, obviously, just in another gentle way, and I thought that I would talk to you about it while it's fresh in my mind. So the first thing I did was start to build myself a new home screen for my iPad. I've never really customized my iPad home screen before, not for any particular reason, I've just never really bothered. I have always just gone for a really minimal lock screen and then literally like just a plain grey background, but I spent time yesterday, and by time I mean quite a lot of time. I started in the evening and I was still doing it at like 4 a.m, just like curled up in bed around the iPad. But I wanted to build myself something a bit more inspiring to use. My iPad is the tool I use to work, so I wanted it to be inspiring when I open it and to remind me that I actually enjoy drawing and not just be met with a grey wall. So I pulled one of my Halloween illustrations onto some grid paper. I don't want to say she's my favourite of the Halloween illustrations because I don't have a favourite child, but I do really like this character that I drew. Her name is Willow, and she was meant to be sort of like a bit like a vampire with the bats, and I included some vampire teeth and a little cupcake because it's February, some coffee, a Tamagotchi, Lucky, who's my favourite Animal Crossing villager, always has been, to try and help make my iPad a slightly more inspiring place, I guess, when I open it. Something that's just a bit more motivating to look at, I guess, and a bit more exciting and interesting. So hopefully you see what I mean. I do feel better already when I open my iPad now. I do feel it's a lot more exciting. It is definitely cheering me up, if nothing else. So it's cool. I made the clock app with an app called Widgetsmith, which is... it's just an app for adding widgets to your phone and your iPad. I learned about it when everyone was making those really aesthetic phone home screens, like in 2020, like during one of the lockdowns, I think. I actually still have mine, by the way. But I used Widgetsmith to make the clock, with the calendar at the top. And then there's the Timo widget underneath, which is just a widget by Timo. Yeah, so in the video I'm showing you all of the pieces. I have no idea what I talked about for the whole beginning section. I think I was rambling about Will Graham, which is okay. But that's how I built it. I used the Shortcuts app to make the icons. It's really easy. There's so many tutorials online about it because all of the little Pinterest girlies who are very talented have been making really aesthetic home screens forever. I have just never tried, but now I see why they love it so much. And yeah, Widgetsmith to make the calendar. Widgetsmith is also the app you can use to add little pictures to your home screen. This is my Emergency John and Sherlock illustration. I've had it there for years, but it's just so I can microdose my special interest when I'm stressed. But apart from that, I just want to talk about Timo, really. I'm not sure at what point in the video I'm going to move on, but Timo is a really, really cool app that was designed for neurodivergent people. And when you use it, I feel like you can really feel that. I don't know how to describe it. It's a time management app and it's a task management app, but it's so much friendlier in a way that I think some other to-do list apps maybe aren't. And it's an app that I personally have been using on and off for the better part of probably 5 or 6 years maybe. And every time I struggle, I do find myself reaching back for it. Every time I keep doing it. It's kind of like that thing when you go on meds and then you start to feel so much better and you start doing so well that you're oh, I don't know why I thought I needed meds. I'm doing great. And then you go off your meds and you're oh, the meds were helping. It's like that with Timo, where I use it for a period of time and then I think I'm doing fine and I sort of phase out of using it accidentally just because I'm doing stuff. And then I'm suddenly oh my god, why am I struggling so much? And then I start using it again and I feel so much better. But anyway, I set my day up in Timo using blocks. You can add things as individual tasks or you can create blocks and routines with tasks inside them, if that makes sense. And what I do is I create a morning routine, an evening routine, and then a block for my day. And the block for my day is where I put all of my tasks that aren't routine tasks. And then obviously in the routine blocks, I put the steps of my routine. So brush your teeth, put your contact lenses in, feed the dog, that kind of thing. Take your inhalers, which I didn't do if you can't tell. That kind of thing is what goes in my routine blocks. And the nice thing about Timo is that you can customize all of the icons yourself. You can choose your own icons. You can either choose from the selections that they have. They have a lot. They have a library of icons. Or you can upload your own icons independently from your phone or whatever. So you can use real world photos from your routines, or you can find icons online, which is what I did. I think I show it later, so I'll tell you about that. But it's really cool. And the nice thing about the blocks and the tasks within the blocks is that you can set things for different times. So I set my evening routine from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. But my day routine is 9 to 5. Which is really cool. And then my morning routine I think is just 2 hours long, but it's just cool to be able to add a time frame within it. And then it reminds me, especially if I'm wearing my watch or I have the widget on my phone, it reminds me that I have like 2 hours left to finish my evening routine kind of thing, and it's just a really helpful reminder. If you're someone that exists in their own time and space, it just is a nice nudge to remind you that actually time is moving, and you have things to be doing. So it's a good reminder. The tasks also roll over to the following day. So what I do is I set all of my blocks to automatically repeat, including my daily blocks. And then what I do is go in either in the morning or the evening. So the morning of or the evening before, to change the name of the day to like from Friday to Saturday, and to update the tasks I have to do. But the nice thing is that the tasks from the previous day will stay logged on that day. It doesn't remove them, it just keeps them there and then duplicates them over. So when I go back and look at a previous day, I can see the things I completed. I can see if I missed a step in my routine, or if I can see the tasks I finished, and I can still see what needs to be completed the following day. Which, if you lose time like I do, then it's really helpful, because if I fall behind in my notebooks, I can go back into Timo and I can look at the previous day and I can see what's logged in my checklist, basically, which is such a big help. If you remember to fill them out, I should say, is the key component. My hope is that if I have scheduled time for both my notebook and Timo, I should always be completing one of them. If I don't feel up to filling out my notebooks, then filling something out digitally should hopefully be that bit easier, because I can do it from my phone. So even if I'm doing it as an aftersight at the end of the day, at least I've done it and I can refer back to it then for my notebooks. This is the website I use for my icons personally. There's loads of sites like this, but it's called Icons 8, and I use the sticker icons. I like them because the colours are really soft and the design is so consistent. I think they're really pretty. And they have literally a ghost face emoji. So if I ever need that, if I'm having a horror night, that's just good to know. There are lots of different sections like sports, technology, healthcare. They have a specific section for like programming. So if you're a programmer, they've got you covered. They have art sections and stuff too, and like family and pets. And then I go into Procreate. So you save the icon from the website for free, and then you can go, I resize them in Procreate basically and add a background color. And then I save it out and import it into Timo to create my custom icons, which I think I show you how to do. Oh, so what I did was I went to my birthday, which is the 16th of February, to show you an example. Because I had saved a photo of a cake, I show you the example of how I add in like my block for the day. So I add a block called birthday to the 16th, and I add the cake emoji, the little cake icon. And then I add a little checklist, and I show you how I add the icons for all the individual elements within the checklist. So the block is called birthday, and then you can add however many items you want within the block, basically. And the block itself has one icon, but you can also add lots of little icons to all the tasks. And if you're a visually, how would you call it? If you're a visually driven person, if you're someone who does better with little pictures to remind you of what you're doing, like I am, or if you're aesthetically driven and you like things to look nice, I think that all of these customization options are just such a big help. I find that they really make a difference to how I'm doing things, just because things look that bit nicer and I feel that much more connected to what I'm doing when I'm setting my day up. If I'm setting my day up and I'm just writing it down and it's just plain text on a blank screen, it's okay, but it's not really as motivating, if you will, as when I'm in an app and I can choose all the colours and I can upload my own silly little pictures, and I can toggle everything to fit my own personal aesthetic needs, if you will. So they're features that I really appreciate, basically. They're just features that I really appreciate. And that's why I think I always come back to Timo over any other apps that I've tried. And to be fair, in my time, I've tried so many organization apps, like so many, like all of them, probably. Like between me and my dad, we're always giving each other feedback on what we've tried. We've had subscriptions and stuff for so many of them over the years, like for like 10 years. Like, I don't know how to explain, like it's been so many. But the fact that you can toggle all of the colours in Timo is just fantastic. Like if you decide that Friday doesn't feel like a purple day, you can make it a red day or a blue day with your tracker that goes around the screen. And I just like that. I really like that. So yeah, it's just good. There's also a notes section. which I intend to start using a bit more. I'm really bad for leaving the most haphazard, like nonsensical notes in my notes app, which isn't very helpful, but I want to start using the Timo one more organized so that all of my accessibility stuff is in one place. And at the moment too, I noticed that Timo has all these articles in the app and on their website, things like an autistic person's guide to coping during seasonal periods and stuff. Like, it's just cool. And that's what I love about Timo, is that when you're using their app and looking at their website, you can really tell how much they care about what they're doing. So, not sponsored, but shout out to Timo. I hope this was interesting. I hope the audio isn't too bad compared to the footage. And I'll see you next week.